What is up, YouTube? It's your boy TPK back at it again with another video, and as always, hope you guys are having a blessed day. Wanted to have some fun with the new year on a topic I think a lot of you are going to enjoy: predicting the 10 best NBA players in the 2020s. Now, I'm not going to lie, this was a very difficult list to make as there is so much that can happen over the next 10 years, but hey, I had to give it my best shot. Just so everyone is aware, the one and only rule we are playing by is you have to assume the player is going to be playing in the NBA at least all the way through the decade, which will end during the 2029-2030 season. So for example, a guy like LeBron, even though he very might well be a top 3 player over the next 5 years, can't qualify for this list as he'll be 45 by the end of the decade. Also, finally, remember guys, these are projections, not their real life ranking today. So I don't want to see any comments saying, hey, you think this guy is already better than that guy? What are you talking about? Anyways, per usual, if you guys enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. And with that said, let's hop right into the honorable mentions that made the video. Honorable mention number 1, LaMelo Ball, age 18. So I couldn't make this video without putting at least one player who is not yet in the NBA somewhere on the list, because I guarantee there will be one guy who is a top 10 player for the decade that isn't in the NBA right now. Yep, of course LaMelo hasn't played a single game in the league and awaits to be drafted this upcoming summer, but the hype of what we can expect has increased exponentially over the last few months thanks to a near consensus opinion from NBA draft scouts who see him as a top 3 pick in June. In comparison to his brother Lonzo, he's taller, has a tighter handle, and a cleaner jump shot. But that might not be saying much. If LeVar is a bit more hands-off than he was with his brother, I can't help but think the future is bright for the youngest Ball. Honorable mention number 2, Pascal Siakam, age 25. Just barely missing the top 10 list is none other than Toronto Raptors' Pascal Siakam. Quite honestly, if you told me a year ago Siakam would be in this position as one of the future stars of the decade, I would have thought you were joking, but very few players in the league have broke out like he has recently. After winning Most Improved Player of the Year last season, averaging 16.9 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 3.6 assists, Pascal has successfully accepted the challenge of being the number 1 option on this new look Toronto squad this year, boosting his scoring all the way to 25 points per game. So even though he came on a bit late, the growth he is showing year over year right now is insane, and considering his prime might still be a few years away, it won't be a surprise if he ends up as a top 10 player in the next decade. Honorable mention number 3, Nikola Jokic, age 24. Man, I know some Jokic fans are going to come for me in the comments, but I just could not find a place for him in the top 10. Look, here's the deal. He's an excellent player, and even while having a bit of an up and down season this year, there's no question he is a top 15, at worst top 20 player in the NBA today. But projecting the next decade, do I really see him as an all-decade type performer? I just don't see it, guys. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of Marc Gasol in his prime, with better offense and worse defense. Sure, he's an all-star, and even maybe an MVP candidate in the off year, but will he be a top 10 player over the next 10 years? Call me a hater, but I just don't think he'll make it. Number 10, Ben Simmons, age 23. Ironically enough, while sitting at top 10 is high praise for just about anybody, Ben is actually coming in a bit lower than I would have put him before the season due to little offensive improvement in his game so far this year. While there continues to be a running joke about Ben Simmons and his 3-point shooting, I am personally still confused as to how he's not yet taken the next step in getting his shot to be at least respectable. With this now being his 3rd season in the league, 14.5 points per game is incredibly disappointing for a guy with his physical tools and skill set. Nonetheless, because he's only 23 years old and carries much less injury risk than his partner in crime for the time being, Joel Embiid, Simmons remains a very intriguing player to look out for, and I still somewhat expect him to break out into a top 5 NBA player at some point in his career. I mean, face it, he's a gifted passer, one of the best defenders in the league, and is an elite option in the open court. Just remain patient with the scoring, guys. I have faith he will deliver in the next decade. Number 9, Kawhi Leonard, age 28. So this one I had to go back and forth on for a bit of time. On one hand, I can see Kawhi's game aging fantastically well, and with the combination of load management paying off, he could remain one of the best two-way players in the league all the way through age 38. On the other hand, 10 years is a lot of time, and knowing Leonard's personality is a bit different, it wouldn't also shock me to see him abruptly retire around the age of 33 to 35. But because I think his competitiveness gets overlooked a bit due to his quiet demeanor, my prediction is that Kawhi plays past the era of LeBron and looks to stack up on rings in a wide open NBA landscape. With 2 rings and 2 finals MVPs, if he puts in a decade more of basketball, there's no telling where exactly he will finish on the all-time rankings. Focusing on present day, it is also very possible that Kawhi has not even reached his full potential quite yet. Averaging a career-high 5.2 assists per game this year, after never averaging more than 3.5, there is definitely still room for growth in year 9 and beyond. Number 8, Zion Williamson, age 19. Spell it with me, H-E-A-L-T-H. Simply put, this is the only thing stopping Zion Williamson from not finishing in the top 3 at the end of this decade. As we saw a glimpse of what Zion would look like in the NBA preseason, I don't think it is far-fetched to say he would be a top 15 player in the league from day one. That might sound like a hyperbole, but simply check the tape and the stats. In the 4 games he played in October this year, Williamson averaged a robust 23.3 points per game in only 27 minutes, while shooting a video game-like 71% shooting percentage. NBA players simply cannot guard him, and if he remains healthy, there's little doubt he will be in contention for MVPs and NBA titles for years to come. Oh, and by the way, he will do a lot better with women next decade.
Oh, beautiful.
Number 7, Devin Booker, age 23. It's actually a bit funny to think the Devin Booker hype has come down a bit over the last couple years. After having that insane 70-point game performance a few years back, there was plenty of discussion of him being up next as the next great shooting guard in the NBA. Yet because the Phoenix Suns remain a team that is nowhere near playoff contention, Booker's upside is simply not talked about in the same manner it once was. Looking at the numbers and realizing his current averages of 25 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 6.5 assists on an impressive 50% from the field is at a stage of his career where he is just 23 years old, the amount of time Booker has to expand his game is remarkable. Yeah, sure, he will need to get better on defense and perhaps play with a bit more grit, but I love the trajectory of a guy like Booker whose game should age nicely into his late 20s and early 30s. Number 6, Karl Anthony Towns, age 24. I feel like I'm giving Cat a lot of love here putting him at number 6. While I know he's a fantasy monster with all the counting stats he puts up, I'm not exactly sure I see him as a guy that is going to be challenging other players for titles in his NBA career. To me, he comes off a bit soft in big game matchups, and his defense still leaves a lot to be desired. Yet, at 24 years old, he has built enough credibility with his elite offensive skill set to where I can see him delivering a few huge NBA seasons where he will be in routine discussion for MVP. Again, he's not my favorite player on this list, but his spot here represents the respect I have for what he's accomplishing right now. Number 5, Brandon Ingram, age 22. Call me petty, but I'm definitely going to spend some of this time slotted for Ingram to say I told you so to everyone who thought Jason Tatum was the player with better potential during that whole debate with the Anthony Davis trade. Don't get me wrong, as a recent Duke alum, I have love for both Ingram and Tatum, but it was always so clear to me that Ingram was that cute girl in high school we all knew had potential that goes on to be a Victoria's Secret model by age 25. Because right now at age 22, Ingram is coming to his own as the main offensive weapon for the New Orleans Pelicans, averaging 25.3 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists on MVP level shooting splits of 49% from the field, 41% from 3, and 85% from the free throw line. If this is for real, and he maintains this level of foul shooting specifically, I'm honestly afraid I might have him too low on this list. Make no mistake, I absolutely love Ingram's outlook for the 2020s decade. Number 4, Trey Young, age 21. Beyond all the points, assists, and three-pointers Young has already produced in his year and a half in the NBA, what impresses me most about Trey Young is his competitiveness and his refusal to be denied. Because after a rough stretch at the beginning of his rookie year, where he looked downright lost on how exactly NBA teams were defending him, Young didn't just figure it out, he put in one of the best rookie point guard campaigns in recent memory. And this year, he is continuing where he left off, averaging a ridiculous 28.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, and 8.3 assists. Now, while I personally think his defense will always be a bit of an issue and his high turnovers remain a blemish on his resume, Young's upside is still sky high, and you might wonder if he will pull a Steph Curry-like takeover later in his career at say 27 or 28 years old. For how he already looks at age 21, number 4 sounds about right here. Number 3, Anthony Davis, age 26. For a player that was actually pretty relevant throughout the 2010s decade, you may think it is a bit presumptuous to think AD fits into this next decade as the 3rd best projected player given his age. Yet, if we're being honest, the truth is Anthony Davis is just starting the phase of his career that will be most remembered when talking about his legacy. As the pairing with LeBron has worked out almost perfectly, there is now an opportunity for Davis to win titles not only as the sidekick to the king, but perhaps surpass him. And at just 26 years old, the reality is he still may not even be in his prime quite yet. With a few NBA titles next to his name, the ceiling for him is definitely a more likable, less controversial Kevin Garnett. Number 2, Luka Doncic, age 20. So it goes without saying Luka Doncic is going to be one of the most talked about players in the next decade, but I am personally curious, how good is he going to be? Currently averaging 29.7 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 8.9 assists at age 20, it is crazy to think he has not even scratched the surface of his full potential in the league. Because he is so advanced at such a young age and is performing so well, my only fear is NBA fans are going to hold him to incredibly high expectations that might just be a bit unrealistic, similar to the way we did for LeBron. If you remember during the time LeBron left to Miami, he received a ton of flack for not having won an NBA title when he was just 25 years old. Maybe because he is so likable, Luka won't receive this level of pressure, but if he continues to play so well at such a young age, the LeBron and MJ comparisons are not going to stop anytime soon. Let me know in the comments how many MVPs and how many NBA titles you see for Luka in the 2020s decade. Number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo, age 25. Guys, come on. This really can't be a surprise to anyone who is watching the Greek Freak at this current point. Averaging 30 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, and 5.6 assists per game, Giannis ironically did not become the next LeBron like everyone predicted, he became the next Shaq. Given the fact he was just a project less than 6 years ago, it is pretty damn incredible to look at how far he has come when you look at his constant improvement every season since he has been in the league. Because he is just 25 and because he has shown unbelievable dedication to his craft, I can't help but think the best is yet to come from this once-in-a-generation type of player. Although 2030 will put him at 35 years old and a bit past his prime in the traditional sense, I just have a feeling he will follow the LeBron model and his game will age nicely to the point where he is still competing for titles as an MVP level player. And because I think very soon we will see a large gap between him and the second best player in the league once LeBron retires, there is no question he sits at number 1 on the list of the future 10 best NBA players of the 2020s decade. Anyways guys, that's the video, hope you enjoyed. Just a fun list detailing the guys I think will run the next decade in the NBA. What do you guys think? You agree with the list for the most part? Anyone I miss? Comment your thoughts below. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day, or night, or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.